Sultan Moulay Ismail ibn Sharif became Sultan of Morocco in 1672. He came to the throne, one might say, by chance, or maybe not by chance. His brother, 41-year-old Sultan Moulay Rahiz, was riding his horse on April 9 of the same year after a banquet to celebrate a military victory and unsuccessfully fell when his horse galloped under the low-hanging branches of the palace garden. And from that time the era of the bloody ruler began. Ismail inherited the throne at the age of 26 and ruled for 55 years. He was of the Sharif dynasty who claimed to be descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, the founder of Islam. He used this pretext to justify his atrocities. Europeans considered Moulay Ismail cruel, greedy, ruthless, and duplicitous. There are many legends of the ease with which Ismail could behead or torture laborers or servants whom he considered lazy. According to Dominic Busno, the color of his clothing was related to his mood. Green is the most auspicious color, white is a good sign for those who address him, but when he is dressed in yellow, the whole world trembles because it is the color he chooses on the days of his bloodiest executions. He killed servants out of whimsy. His catchphrase, "My subjects are like rats in a basket, and if I do not keep shaking the basket, they will chew their way out." If the chroniclers are to be believed, more than 30,000 people were executed or killed by the Sultan himself or by his order. According to one story, a slave who was adjusting his stirrup while the Sultan was getting on his horse had his head cut off. Just like that, for no reason. Sultan Ismail had hundreds of children. According to the Guinness Book, he fathered 888 children. They were born to 4 wives and 500, and according to some reports 700, concubines. Whenever any enemy tribe surrendered, its leader gave his most beautiful daughter to the Sultan's harem. In addition, Ismail's harem had many slave girls, including European women, Spanish, French, English, etc. Each woman was assigned a maid and a personal eunuch. Now just imagine how many people lived in a harem. At least 2,000. Men were strictly forbidden even to look at the Sultan's women. It was punishable by death. And if it so happened that men encountered the Sultan's harem, they would fall on the ground face down to avoid being accused of looking at these women. However, the accidental gazing into the eyes of the Sultan himself was also punished. If any of the Sultan's women were accused of adultery, she was severely punished. Simply put, she was mutilated. They might cut off her breasts or pull out her teeth. Sultan Ismail once sent his ambassador to propose marriage to a famous beauty, the Frenchwoman Marie-Anne de Bourbon, the eldest legitimate daughter of King Louis XIV. But the girl refused. Fortunately, this did not lead to a military conflict between the countries. Incidentally, this Anne de Bourbon herself ended up marrying her cousin at the age of 13, and after their first wedding night she made a real public row, calling her spouse, a boy of the same age of 13, a bad lover. Sultan Ismail had a beloved woman, his consort Lala Aisha Mubarka or Zaydana. She was a full black woman of very tall stature. No one understood why the Sultan was so attracted to her that he took her from his half-brother's harem, but there was a close emotional connection between them. And this connection was used by the woman to her advantage. To make her son heir to the throne, she slandered another son of the Sultan, named Al-Alim, as a result of which the latter, disappointed in his heir son, ordered to deprive the unfortunate of his arm and leg. Sultan Ismail left an extensive historical legacy in the form of building structures. The Sultan's palace was built exclusively by European slaves, assisted by gangs of local outlaws. The palace was about 6 kilometers in circumference and its walls were about 76 centimeters thick. As soon as one building project was completed, the Sultan would order the next to be built. And if he did not like the result, he ordered to demolish everything and build anew. The Sultan had a huge underground prison, Habs Kara, where 60,000 prisoners were held, 40,000 of whom were Christian sailors captured by Berber pirates. Christians were used as free labor to build the city during the day. And in the evening they were returned to prison, chained to prison walls where they were forced to sleep standing up. There are still rumors that there are secret underground tunnels leading from the Sultan's palace to the prison. Although there is no proof of this. Another interesting fact is the Sultan's organization of a self-generating army. The formidable Black Guard consisted of warrior slaves acquired from sub-Saharan Africa. By the end of Sultan Ismail's reign this army numbered 150,000. These men lived in their communities, married, had children, future warriors, but all were under the control of the Sultan. Thanks to this army, Ismail retained all the territories of Morocco, and even reclaimed new ones from the European states. The Black Guard still exists today, but since the country gained its independence in 1956, It has a different name, the Royal Moroccan Guard,